we move on to react to another it seems like what you know Brazil and United States of America are my two favorite national teams or countries that I root for till the end. Brazil, just grew up a Brazil fan. My father was a Brazil fan, so it kind of came down the line, I guess. In the U.S., obviously, I'm American, born and bred, in the U.S. So, and it's been rough for both national teams in recent times. Um, Obviously, the expectation for both national teams is quite different. Um, but relatively, it's not been a great time for me as an international football fan. The U.S. had a they had a disappointing Copa America as well, and then now this international window in which they got they lost to Canada and they drew with New Zealand. Um, these are two teams that the U.S. should be better. The New Zealand one is incredible to me. Uh, New Zealand is not a team that has the quality to be able to keep up with America. Nowhere near. Nowhere near. And the mistake defensively that we made later on to concede that goal, the mix up amongst the back three or so, really it was between um, let me pull that up real quick. I had it in my notes. It was really between Caleb Wiley, who's actually just moved to Europe, and Mark McKenzie. Mix up there between the two. It gets into the path of uh, Ben Wayne, who honestly that was a lovely, lovely, lovely chip, and yeah, it's the U.S. lose to. I mean, the U.S. draw with New Zealand. Yeah, I say lose. It feels like a loss, but the big news out of that day was Pochettino coming in to the U.S. men's national team. That was the big news of the day, cause we all are you know very very excited of that prospect, and the U.S. soccer and U.S. soccer fashion, they announced Pochettino 20 minutes before the start of this game, and yeah, and then this game happened. Poor result. Obviously, Vargas, not Mickey. I said Mickey Vargas. Uh, Mickey Vargas being in, um, is not the he's an interim manager, so it's essentially like having a substitute teacher. When you had a substitute teacher, you don't really you sort of treat it as a free day. Maybe there's that to less aspect, of course, happening here. Um, but it's just unacceptable. The lack of intensity in these two games, um, the lack of intensity, just the real weak mindset of the team. We saw Christian Pulisic with some strong comments after the game, saying, there's a real need of a culture change, and bringing in a guy like Pochettino will change that. But we'll get to that later. Strictly when it comes to this game, though, it will, obviously that huge massive mistake from Caleb Wiley and McKenzie led to the Ben Wayne goal in the 89th minute. That made it 1-1. Pulisic was the one that was able to get the goal in the 69th minute of the game. And obviously the U.S. are coming off their first home loss to Canada since 1957. And the Americans, they looked to pour throughout the game. They're now on a four-game winless streak. And yeah, uh, yeah, it's It's a rough time. It's a rough time. Now there was a lot of changes coming in and on, so it did affect the rhythm of the game. That's kind of how friendlies work. So I'm not taking a huge overall of it, but I will say Pulisic, when he did enter in the 57th minute, I thought he looked pretty good. Um, he looked very, very lively. This is actually his 35th international goal. This puts him ahead of Brian McBride. That puts him fifth um, on the all-time leading goal scorer list for the U.S. men's national team. Keep in mind, Christian Pulisic is 25 years old. Um, um, the build-up was good on that goal. It involved Chris Richards, McKenzie, Aiden Morris, De La Torre, Pepe, and Balogun. And by the way, I didn't like the setup that Mickey Varas, he didn't help his cause too. The this the setup wasn't great. Um, in my opinion, team lacked a little bit of balance there. Uh, the team lacked a little bit of balance there. He started off with Balogun, Haji Wright, and Pepe. Um, don't really understood what was going on. I can't be overly critical. I can't be overly critical because, well, he is just the interim manager. Um, I want to see Tillman in the squad. Well, Tillman, actually, I'm going to answer this comment. Tillman was actually in the squad. If you're talking about Malik Tillman, he came on. He came on to this game. I thought he looked okay. Um, but Mickey Varas didn't really set up this team to succeed, playing Pepe, Balogun, and Haji Wright. But again, it's not something we're gonna be hugely critical on because, well, that was his final game as the U.S. men's national team manager. Pepe did put the U.S. ahead in the 19th minute when he was able to toe poke the ball into the back of the net, but it was the VAR deemed that Pepe shoved Liberto Casas before the shot, and then the VAR intervened. Or no, it didn't actually go to VAR. The Honduran referee Sullivan Brown disallowed the goal after he talked to his assistant. But yeah, it's overall just there's a culture issue. These players, there's not a winning mentality amongst this team. It's nice boy FC, and it's Greg Berhalter, it's friends FC, and there's no huge mentality amongst this team, and there's no fear factor that they have in terms of an authority that they fear, and there's no intensity in the way that they go about it, and then they come in moments in games where they need a little bit of mental toughness, and they completely fold and look abysmal, and that's what Pochettino. That's the biggest thing Pochettino needs to come. He needs to come and change this into a team that has a winning mentality, a winning culture, a mentally tough team. And then the tactics and the lineup choices and all of that should come after. But the most important thing right now, initially, is there needs to be an overall in terms of the culture in the team. And Pulisic, Pulisic is someone that's the captain of this team. He talked about it. He's saying the U.S. need a culture change, and here let me just pull up his comments actually. After the 1-1 draw to New Zealand. This is after he said there's a lot of things that need to change, just the mentality and the culture of the group. I think we have the quality, but I know hopefully that's the first thing that he's going to want to change. Hopefully a culture that is willing to fight, that is willing to take risks, win. And this team needs to have a dedication, hard work. They need to all fear being potentially yanked. They all have a comfort level playing for this national team, in which when they play in these sort of difficult moments, they are mentally fragile and they're not able to, take it to the next step. I agree with everything what Pulisic had to say, and there needs to be a real kick up their backsides, and to get these players on. And once the culture change happens, I think that is the start of something are you building something? Because again, everybody talks about this generation, this golden generation, the quality of this team, of these individual players. But, part of me is thinking, number one, this quality. Number one, this is not a golden generation because we've been crap. Number one. Number two, that's the main thing. Number two, is the quality of these players overrated? We talk about Gio Reyna. This is a Gio Reyna that hasn't really taken off on the club scene. Tyler Adams, Weston McKennie, these are players haven't really took that next level. Tyler Adams a lot because of injury. Weston McKennie, I think he's been solid, but hasn't been great at Juventus. That's why it's led him to being in and out there. Balogun still hasn't really took that next level from that really good season he had last season. Pepe sort of same position. I think Haji Wright has been really good, but again, he's playing in a championship. Pulisic, yes, he's, the best we have to offer, but is also the quality of this team overrated? We don't have a goalkeeper, which is shocking to say. I never thought as a U.S. men's national team fan I'd say that, but we don't even have a goalkeeper at this point, a goalkeeper that we can trust game in, game out. We're having to experiment with players like Schulte last game, who didn't even have that great of an Olympic Games, and he's getting a shot. Yeah, I don't know. But with Pochettino coming in, it's all sunshine from here. I'm going to turn my frown upside down because I do believe that there's going to be a change. And I do have optimism now with Pochettino coming in, though. There is huge optimism. There has to be. This is what we needed as fans, this sort of hiring. And I look forward to the October window. I believe we go away to Mexico in the second game of that window. Yes, we do go away to Mexico. And in the first game of the window, we take on Panama and Austin. So, I'm looking forward to it. I don't even look forward to friendlies, but now with the fact we have a real manager here, I'm looking forward to it. Absolutely.